After another disappointing season from Marcus Semien, and the one thing that he had done so incredibly well for his entire career, stay healthy, didn't happen this season. It's time to talk about Marcus Semien's season.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. And also hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 6,000 subscribers. We keep on getting close to it and then getting farther away from it. Also, stop hitting unsubscribe in the off season. We're still doing shows in this off season. Please let me get to that big round number of 6,000 subs, because on today's show we're talking about Marcus Semien, a tough season for the Rangers captain. Another year older, another year that was tough to watch at the plate, and it's starting to look like it may be father time coming for Marcus Semien. We'll talk about if that is the case or if there's something that we're all missing. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Now, on today's show, we're talking about Marcus Semien, the Rangers captain, coming off of a frustrating season and the first time in his career he has ever been on the injured list. There's a distinction we'll talk about more in the second segment about things that went wrong. But I want to start with the positives, because Marcus Semien was a huge part of this Texas Rangers team, winning it all for the first time and only time so far in franchise history back in 2023. But that was a couple of years ago. Last year was a disappointing season for Semien. He played only 159 games last year in 2024, did somehow make the All-Star team, but the offense was way down from where it was in 2023. And this year, my thought heading into the season was, okay, we're looking at odd year Marcus Semien. Every other year, Marcus Semien has been pretty fantastic from 2019, 2021, 2023, and then the year after those years, he's usually had kind of a downturn. After 2019, which was, I'd say, one of the best seasons of his career. It's the career high for OPS. He was fantastic that year. I mean, he finished top 3 in MVP voting that year with Oakland, an 8.4 baseball reference for a season. And then in 2020, not a great year, an even year Marcus Semien, where he missed 7 games of that 60-game season. The OPS was down below 700. It was just not a great year for Semien. He walks, signs a 1-year deal with Toronto. He's an all-star for the first time in his career. He finishes 3rd in MVP voting. He wins a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, changes position, hits the most home runs any primary second baseman has ever hit in an entire season in 45. That was an odd year, 2021. He was fantastic. Then signs that big old deal with the Texas Rangers in 2022. And although the overall numbers are, pretty solid, the first couple months were tough. And from that point on, he was basically Marcus Semien that we've grown accustomed to. Still a 5.7 WAR season, but that was still a down season offensively from him in an even year. Then 2023 comes along, finishes 3rd in MVP voting, finishes 1st in baseball reference WAR amongst AL players at 7.7. 29 home runs as an all-star, is a Silver Slugger, probably should have been a Gold Glover, in my opinion, was a World Series champion that year. Then the year after that, a 699 OPS. And then you thought, okay, well, it's an odd year. Maybe Marcus Semien bounces back. Maybe we do the whole a similar track to Bruce Bochy of the every other year magic. But just like Bruce Bochy, the every other year magic did not bounce back for Marcus Semien this year. But there were still a lot of things that Marcus Semien did well this year, including defensively. Just this week, he was announced as one of the finalists for the AL Gold Glove Award at second base. His defense at second base has been phenomenal. And for a lot of baseball history, second base was kind of an afterthought of a defensive position. It was not a premium defensive position. It was the guys up the middle were the catcher, the shortstop, and the center fielder. But now with the shift being banned or limited, more accurately, guys at second base are still making a lot of plays, having to make some rangy plays. They are not just sitting out there in shallow right field and getting every single easy routine ground ball blooped by a left-handed hitter to just throw to second base or throw to first base. They've got to make a lot more rangy plays, and it's a lot more like having a second shortstop on the right side of your infield. And that's what Marcus Semien has been. His defense has never been in question. The range is still phenomenal. I mean, the throws he's making are phenomenal. The position he's making is phenomenal. He makes those routine plays. He does not mess up. I mean, this Rangers team was phenomenal defensively, and it was a huge reason why this pitching staff was so darn good. The Rangers have count them, 5 Gold Glove finalists. I think they'll probably win 2 of those 5. Marcus Semien and Corey Seager up the middle were nominated for Gold Glove finalists. Also, technically up the middle on the hill, Jacob deGrom nominated as a Gold Glove Award finalist without making a single error all season long. You also have Wyatt Langford out there in left field, and then Adolis Garcia out there in right field. This was a great defensive team, and Marcus Semien has been at the heart of that since he got here. That is one thing that does not ever slump with him. The bat may come and go in terms of hot streaks, but there is no hot or cold for Marcus Semien's defense. It is consistent. It is important. It is valuable because think about it. The point of baseball games is to score more runs than the other team. However you get to those net runs, whatever gets you net runs in your favor is valuable. Whether that's hitting home runs, that scores runs, that gives teams more runs for your team and fewer runs for the other team. Or if you're just preventing fewer runs for the other team, whether that's good pitching, whether that's good defense, whether that's base running runs that you get on the margins there. He was also a very good base runner again this year. I mean, the stolen base percentage was fantastic this year. 11 stolen bases, just one time caught stealing. The Rangers were a very, very good base running team, and Marcus Semien was still doing that. He is still running the bases incredibly well at an elite rate at his advanced age. Feels like a bit mean, a bit rude. He's not advanced age. And as someone who is rapidly approaching their mid-30s, I've taken objection to calling this man old. He just turned 35 on September 4th. That is not an old man, but it's not a young man either. I mean, usually the clubhouse presence as well. That is another thing that Marcus Semien always does. It is such a cliche, but in this case, it is very, very true. This is a baseball player's baseball player. By having Marcus Semien on your team, you give yourself credibility as a franchise. This is a guy who we'll talk about the injury a little bit later and how much of an Ironman he's been for his entire career. But that reputation, that well-deserved reputation of being an Ironman, of sticking it out, of gutting it through every single freaking day, that's what makes Marcus Semien one of the most respected and beloved baseball players by baseball players around the league. That is not nothing. That is important. When you are trying to go get guys in free agency, this is a guy they want to play for. This is a guy who they want to play with. This is a guy who players respect so incredibly much. They respect dudes who post, dudes who play through injury, because they know how tough it is to play basically every single day. And Marcus Semien, even with this down season, 127 games, did still finish with 15 home runs, did still finish with 11 stolen bases, 16 doubles, and a 3.5 baseball reference WAR season, which was amongst the best amongst range. It is the third best position player WAR of anybody on this team. The only players who had a better season by baseball reference WAR than Marcus Semien were Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford, and Nathan Eovaldi. Still a better season than Josh Smith, who had a good season. But Marcus Semien was just that much more valuable. And you also talk about the clubhouse president, the mentorship. The mentorship, like Nathan Eovaldi, not quite to that degree, and also not quite performing on the field as well as Nathan Eovaldi, but just a very brief window during spring training, and hopefully eventually when Sebastian Walcott comes up. But Sebastian Walcott's locker was next to Marcus Semien's locker in spring training. That was by no means an accident. That was the most on-purpose thing they possibly could have done. Now, Sebastian Walcott is a very different type of player than Marcus Semien. He is a guy with incredible physical gifts. He is just so gifted physically, he's incredibly strong, incredibly fast. He is just so darn athletic. The raw talent is off the charts. The makeup's pretty good, but Marcus Semien is a guy who gets the absolute most, the 100th percentile out of his baseballing talent because he works his freaking tail off every single day. The work ethic of this guy, the consistency of this guy is something that every single Ranger should want to model. And if you've got a guy with all the physical gifts in the world, you sit him next to a guy who has had to scraw and claw and scrap every single ounce of his baseballing talent into his major league career to have a long, productive, successful major league career. That's the kind of guy you want around your clubhouse, instilling that kind of a culture in everybody, but especially youngsters with some raw talent like Sebastian Walcott and like Wyatt Langford as well, of just showing these guys, this is how you get it done. This is how you stay successful. This is how you stay healthy, of working on your body and things like that. That's the kind of level of success and the baseline for how hard you need to work. Marcus Semien sets that as a player. That is a huge part of why the Rangers signed him to that big old deal to reestablish the culture before the 2022 season, and a big part of why they won it all in 2023. But 2023 is getting farther and farther away. It is not getting any closer. And the reality of Marcus Semien's season is that it was not successful. We're talking about why signs of decline are already showing, but not in the way you might think. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and then you're in the game. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, all in one lineup. If I want to go to Jalen Hurts on his rushing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, I can do that all in one lineup. It's also fun to follow other players on the app. You can copy their lineups with just one click. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, I'll be back and talking about Nathan Eovaldi and his season and everything that went so right for Nathan Eovaldi, and also the one thing that didn't go right, which was him staying healthy, which is something that didn't go right for Marcus Semien. For the first time in forever, Marcus Semien got hurt this year. Well, excuse me. For the first time in his career, Marcus Semien hit the injured list. Marcus Semien has dealt with injuries for sure, and he's played through those injuries for sure. You don't play 162 games. You don't set the record for the most played appearances combined in a regular season and postseason in a single year, like Marcus Semien did in 2023, without getting at least hurt. Not injured, but hurt and playing through it. But this is the first time in his career that Marcus Semien has hit the injured list. Because back the last time that he was on the equivalent of the injured list, it was called the disabled list. It was 2017. That's the last time this guy hit the IL. That's crazy. That's crazy levels of consistency. I mean, the man is just such an incredibly durable player. And the last time that he got hurt and missed significant time, or missed any time to go on the injury list, to not be on the active roster, that was back on April 16th of 2017. That was a long, long time ago. I was still in college back then, and I'm in my 30s now, early 30s, but it was a long, long time ago. He hit the 10-day IDL at the time with a right wrist contusion, which I have to imagine wasn't just a contusion, because a contusion is a bruise. I don't think Marcus Semien hit the IL with a bruise. I'm pretty sure he had a broken wrist that was misdiagnosed, because you don't miss. He was out on April 16th, and then he didn't return until July 6th. That's 2.5-ish months. You don't miss that for a bruise. That was probably at least a partially dislocated. There was something else going on there. than just a broken wrist. And you want to look back at the rest of his big league career, at the other times that he landed on the disabled list, because that was back in 2017. He was 26 years old back then. He had been a big leaguer since 2013. Made his debut with Chicago, played 21 games in 2013, 64 games in 2014 before being traded to Oakland. So that was his third year in Oakland in 2017. That was the last time that this dude hit the DL. And you look at the rest of his big league career before that, the amount of times he hit the DL, zero. 0 times. He has hit the IL or DL twice in his big league career. He has played 13 seasons, 629 games, and he has been injured twice. That's crazy. Now, he did have a few DL stints of, the 7-day DL back when he was in the minor leagues, actually 3 times in one season, which felt wild to me because of how consistent he has been. But Marcus Semien has been the pinnacle of durability, but he wasn't this year. And it's not like it was some kind of, flimsy recurring injury. He fouled the ball off his foot at just the wrong place and broke his foot. That can happen to literally anybody. Some of these injuries, they're just recurring things like Corey Seager's hamstrings. That has been a problem recurring on both hamstrings. He's had multiple injuries to both hamstrings, and those hamstring strains, they get worse the more frequently they happen. That is more of an injury-plagued recurring thing as opposed to a one-off thing. Like if you get, hit in the arm, like when Josh Young got hit in the wrist with a pitch and his wrist was destroyed, that's not because Josh Young is flimsy. It's because the wrist, when it gets hit with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, it tends to break. And the wrist, there are a lot of bones and tendons and things in there that take a long freaking time to heal. That's not him being flimsy. That's just him being a human being. Or other random injuries, like if you get, collided into, like when Buster Posey's leg snapped at home plate and they changed the rule entirely. That was not because Buster Posey was flimsy. That's because the human leg isn't supposed to have a whole grown man landing on it and snapping it in two. That's kind of what legs do at that point. But hitting wise, this was also a bad season for Marcus Semien. This was not a good offensive season for him. 127 games. He missed 35. That was a lot of games to miss for Marcus Semien. It is a significant number to miss. And offensively, a 669 OPS. That is the worst mark in his entire career. The entire career. 13 seasons. This was the worst offensive mark. Now you look by OPS plus, which kind of adjusts for league average. Offense overall was down. I know we had Kyle Raleigh hitting 60 home runs this year. I know we had Aaron Judge hitting, 340 or whatever it was that he ended up hitting this year while hitting 50 something bombs. But overall, the offense was down this year. So OPS plus wise, he's only 3% worse than league average while playing great defense, great base running. But this is your star. This is your all-star. This is your $500 million middle infield. And you need him to perform like that. And this is the guy who was your leadoff hitter for most of the last 4 seasons. Excuse me. Not most of the last 4 seasons, because the Rangers already moved him out of that leadoff spot early on this year. Early on. I thought that Marcus Semien played a lot more leadoff than he actually ended up doing this year. Only 21 games did Marcus Semien lead off. The last time he led off a game, April 20th against the Dodgers, and then never again this season. He has been moved out of that leadoff spot for a long time this season. It was mostly Josh Smith this season and a little bit of Wyatt Langford and a little bit of Evan Carter and whoever else they could throw up in there, Michael Hellman for a hot minute in the leadoff spot. But it is no longer Marcus Semien leadoff hitter anymore. He is probably not going to be batting third like he did most of the time this year. 43 games there, 29 games in the 5-hole where he did not hit particularly well. And the reason they moved him out is because offensively, that first month of the season was horrendous. It was awful. I mean, in April and March, he played 30 games. He had a 504 OPS. And then in May, the numbers really improved because of a great final weekend of May, which led to his only hot streak of the season. But he had a 574 OPS in May. Then June rolls around and he's got a 932 OPS. I mean, he was crushing it in the month of June, hitting 324, a 383 on base percentage, was just doing a whole lot better. And then below 700, just 1 point below 700 OPS in the month of July, 699, and then 629 OPS in the month of August. We only had 2 home runs there, just not particularly great, and twice as many strikeouts as home run or as walks in August. And it was just not a great great season offensively for Marcus Semien. But is this the start of Father Time saying, you've had your time, Marcus Semien, I'm taking you under? I don't necessarily think so. And I'm going to talk about why right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet and put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Let's look at some of these World Series odds after last night. The Toronto Blue Jays evening up that series in the American League Championship Series after the Mariners went up 2-0 in Toronto. Toronto says not so fast and comes back with 2 games of their own. A big game 5 tonight. Right now, the Dodgers, who are up 3-0 and just about to walk into this World Series pretty uncontested. Brewers, get your stuff together. You should have made it a series. That would have been very fun to see. But Dodgers favored at -210. Mariners at +390. Blue Jays at +400 for the ALCS. The Mariners are not favored, though, to win the American League Championship Series, even though they have better World Series odds than the Blue Jays. Blue Jays right now -120 to win the ALCS, and Seattle has +102 odds. So very close odds right there. Very interesting to watch what's going to happen in this game 5. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Now, there's a lot of talk about Marcus Semien being washed. There's a lot of talk about, okay, Marcus Semien, he's 35 years old. He's washed. He's done. He can't hit for crap. This guy is just boo. Bad Marcus Semien. I think he gets a lot more hate than he deserves. Sure, he's not the player he was in 2023. He's not the player he was in 2021. I don't think he's going to have any more 45 homer seasons. I don't think he's going to have any more 8.5, 9 more seasons. But physically, the things that I look for in a player's baseball savant page and just watching these players, the things that kind of go with age that kind of start to show a physical decline, usually you look at bat speed. That is an indicator of athleticism. And once bat speed starts to go, if you're a guy who relies a whole lot on that, that's when the offense can really fall off a cliff. I mean, you look at Miguel Cabrera, the tail end of his career, the bat speed went down, and boy, howdy, he really fell off a cliff offensively. Same with Albert Pujols, that bat speed started to fall off, and he really fell off. And I think that might end up being what happens with Adolis Garcia, although Adolis Garcia has a lot faster bat speed than Marcus Semien. And the thing about Marcus Semien is that his bat speed, you look at it, you're like, oh my God, Bryce, you're saying bat speed is an indicator, and you're saying he's not washed? His bat speed's in the 8th percentile of Major League Baseball. He can't swing the bat fast at all. But I asked you to look back at what Marcus Semien did in 2024 and 2023. This was not a guy who ever had great bat speed. He did not rely on bat speed. There's usually 2 types of hitters that you can lead to successful approaches. You can have very slow bat speed or very fast bat speed. Some guys can succeed with bat speeds around the middle, but usually there's 2 types of thinking. Either you have so much bat speed that, it just whips through the zone and leads to a lot of home runs, or your bat is going more slowly through the zone, gives you more of a margin for error, relies a little bit less on, the raw power of just whipping that thing through the zone. You have more of a chance to hit the ball at the best kind of an angle of squaring up the ball, not necessarily barreling it, but squaring it up. Think more Luis Arias. If you're swinging the bat a little bit slower, it gives you more of a margin for error to hit the ball exactly at one of the 75th, 85th percentile of best outcome for that ball, of hitting it at the right angle, of hitting it into the outfield, into the gaps, pulling it for power, whatever that kind of a result is. That's how Marcus Semien has gotten down. That's how Marcus Semien hits his home runs. All of his home runs, you look at them this year, none of them are even to dead center field. They are all left field. That has been basically the entirety of his career. All of them pull home runs. He hits a lot of home runs, but almost all of them are to the pull side. And so his bat speed, even when that bat speed starts to decline, he's still going to be someone who can succeed there offensively of just pulling that baseball. Now, baseballs are traveling less far, and that is really impacting guys like Marcus Semien, especially. I think that the ball being deadened to whatever degree it is this year, it's not going to affect guys like Aaron Judge, who hit his home runs, 500, 600, 8 billion feet into the 17th deck. Marcus Semien, guys who most of his home runs are, wall scrapers. They're doubters. He would do incredibly well hitting at Dyken Park in Houston. He does hit incredibly well in Dyken Park with that such a short left field, because to hit a home run, they still count the same. If you get them barely over the fence versus 18 rows deep, they still count as home runs. And Marcus Semien's like, bet, why would I need to hit the ball 1,800 feet? I'm going to get the absolute most out of my baseballing talent and hit it just enough over the fence to get it to be a home run. And so the bat speed is not really as much an indicator for him. And the sprint speed, it's still there. That's the other thing that I look at. The sprint speed is still there. He is still a very, very good base runner. He's still fast. He's still got that athleticism. He's still got the range, that first quick twitch. I mean, he works so hard to keep his body at its physical peak. That's why he's able to play so many games, is because the work ethic that he's got, the workout plan, the diet, the exercise, the everything, the routine that Marcus Semien has is one of, if not the best in baseball. That's why he's able to stay so darn healthy consistently, even into his mid and eventually, hopefully late 30s while he's playing. That's why he's able to do that. The sprint speed, all of that is still there. The athleticism is still there, but offensively, it's looking like the Rangers are going to have to count on more from other guys at this point in Marcus Semien's career. And so definitively, like the answer is Marcus Semien washed? I mean, it gets kind of like that famous tweet of, y'all are saying stuff so definitively. The real answer is it depends. I mean, kind of a little bit, but nuance doesn't really get them quick. So it'd be much easier, get a lot more eyeballs on this thing if I said, yeah, Marcus Semien's washed. That guy sucks. Trade him. But also, there were some reports about, the Rangers kicking the tires on trading him, or should the Rangers consider trading him? He's your captain. This guy is your captain. You signed him to a big deal. And also, yes, he is not performing to the levels of early Marcus Semien in this contract, but that is how free agency works every time. I don't care if you're signing Jacob deGrom. I don't care if you're signing Mike Trout to a free agent deal. I don't care if you're signing Shohei Ohtani. He is not going to live up to being a $70 million player at the end of that contract at 38, 39. I mean, well, maybe, but because he's Shohei Ohtani. But when you're paying free agents, you're paying a premium. You are paying a higher price because these guys make so little money in the first parts of their career. If Wyatt Langford was on the open market right now, the value of what he would be getting paid is a lot higher than the $780,000, $800,000 that he's actually making this season. But the players make that up in free agency. That's how this system works, is because it is much harder to draft a Marcus Semien and get those first 6 years. You don't draft a Wyatt Langford every single year. You don't draft a Corey Seager every single year. That's why you pay these free agents the big bucks. At the back end of these contracts, they always look bad. They always look bad for these mega deals. Any deal more than 5 years, you're not going to get peak value out of all 5 years. By the end of it, you're going to start to see a decline. That's how it happens. So you think of that money of being front loaded, of being paying these guys for those first couple years to get them to your franchise, to get them on your team. And if you start to trade away those guys, the capital, the capital of your team, the human capital of convincing guys in free agency to sign deals with you, they will see that. Other teams, other free agents, potentially down the line, the Rangers want to sign a big free agent to say, hey, we saw how you traded away Marcus Semien, a guy who won your franchise its first ever championship, a huge, huge part of that, a guy who's so respected around the league. You trade that guy off, and other teams aren't going to want to, other free agents are not going to want to sign here. They are going to look at this franchise and be like, oh, they're going to cry poor the second I stop living up to this contract. The second I have a down year, they're going to cut me and shove me out the door. That is a horrible look. And also, the question is always, where do you trade him and who's filling that role? Who's filling that role? Who's playing everyday second base for the Texas Rangers? Are you going to go out and sign somebody in free agency? You're going to go pay Gleyber Torres a whole bunch of money? Once that bat for Gleyber Torres starts falling off, then he's really not providing any value at all. And Marcus Semien is going to still be a good defensive second baseman next year and the year after that, and probably the final year of his contract. He's got 3 more years on this contract. He's making $26 million next year, the year after that, and then the final year of this contract, he's making $20 million in 2028, where he will be, I believe, 38 or 37 years old at the end of this contract. And if you're trading him away, who's going to say, oh yeah, I'll take him. I would like the 35-year-old defense first second baseman whose offense has been declining pretty rapidly the last couple of years. But let me go trade for that guy and pay him $26 million the next 2 years and $20 million the year after that. That's not happening. Other teams can see that. You're not going to just hide like, oh yeah, remember when Marcus Semien won that World Series? Don't look at what he's done lately. Don't look at that. What value are you getting? Where else are you going to spend that money that you would save by trading Marcus Semien away? It's a twofold point. And so, yes, Marcus Semien is not the player he was. I think this year was definitely a down year. I think it's possible that his offense bounces back. I don't think he's going to have another 800 plus OPS season in his career. I don't think that's happening, but I think it's reasonable to expect him to be a 4 or 5 win player because, had he played the full season this year, he still would have been about a 4 or 5 win player. That's valuable. That's honestly about $25 million worth of player. That's about what you pay for that level of player. And so, yes, he's probably not finishing third in MVP voting in his mid to late 30s again. I don't think he's going to start getting, I don't think he's going to have the Adrian Beltre thing. I thought when the Rangers signed him, maybe this is a guy who could have a similar career arc to Adrian Beltre of hitting his peak, hitting free agency at the exact right time, and then, maintaining, because of how well he maintains his body, I thought physically he might still be able to be at or near that peak, maybe not hitting a new peak like Adrian Beltre did in his, 35, 36, 37 age seasons. I think that is a real rarity that we're not going to see maybe ever again. But the fact that I thought Marcus Semien could be a 775 OPS player with elite defense and good base running skills and be a 4 or 5, maybe even 6 win player into his mid-late 30s, I thought that was still an option. I think that still possibly is. I don't think that this is the end for Marcus Semien by any means, and I don't think he's just going to be terrible offensively next year. Now, there are a lot of long stretches of him being bad in years past, but they have been usually even out by long stretches of him being good. Next year is going to be a big year for Marcus Semien of, can we rely on this guy really at all in the top part of our order? Or is this going to be a defense first guy that, hits ninth for this Rangers team towards the end of this contract? I don't know at this point. This was not a great year for Marcus Semien, but I think declaring him completely washed is a bit premature, even with the first injury this man has had that put him on the IL in his entire career. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.